the Federal Way School Board meeting of, what is the date? December 9th will now be in order. We have first on our agenda the roll call, and let's start, Claire, at your end.
Director Wilson.
Director McAnally.
Carol Gregory.
Hiroshiato.
Sally McLean, Superintendent.
Okay, we're now going to have the presentation of colors by the Todd Beamer High School JROTC. Please rise.
Forward. March. Color guard. Hold. Order. Colors. Left. Base. Carry. Colors. Present. Colors. Please join me in singing the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Carry. Colors. Order. Colors. Right. Base. Court. Colors. Forward. March.
You may be seated. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and for anyone who needs a copy, they're over on that table by the door. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education approve the meeting agenda of December 9th, 2014 as submitted.
Second?
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're now moving to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
President Gregory, I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda of December 9, 2014 as submitted.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We are now going to introduce Mark Davidson, Deputy Superintendent, who will introduce the student voice presentation.
Thank you, President Gregory, members of the board, Superintendent McLean. Tonight we're going to have a presentation to a student at Camelot, or at least it's from Camelot, I should say, and I'd like to introduce Principal Cindy Drackabley and teacher Darcy Borg, who will come forward and make the presentation.
Thank you for inviting us this evening. We're very excited to be here to present an ongoing project that we have at Camelot, and really Mrs. Borg is the one that should be standing here. She is our resident expert, facilitator, recruiter, organizer who has great passion about outdoor education in our community. And Mrs. Borg, would you like to introduce our student presenter?
I would love to. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much. Again, good evening, Director Gregory and members of the board and Superintendent McLean. It is really, I'm just so excited to be a part of this. This has been an ongoing project at Camelot for 3 years. And from the very, very beginning, I'm just so impressed that it's all been about student voice. I know we hear a lot about that and student engagement and student empowerment. And there's a group of just highly dedicated, committed students who went through the first year with us, came back, just had to keep coming back. And now we have a student here tonight with her brother, who's been part of this 3-year partnership with Weyerhaeuser. She has, along with another student who couldn't be here tonight, put together a PowerPoint to share with you tonight. Her brother is in my current 5th grade class. So I'm going to turn it over to Parneet, and she's going to share some things from her point of view and her perspective.
My name is Parneet Sidhu, and I am a 7th grader at Kylo Middle School. I used to go to Camelot Elementary. I only came to Camelot in the 5th grade, and I got such a nice experience of what nature was like, and I got more in depth with what our environment is and what I can do to help everyone know more.
There we go.
So some of our project goals are that we wanted to start an outdoor classroom. We wanted kids to gain more knowledge about what the environment is like and what nature is actually. We wanted them to be able to go outside even in rain or shine and know about their surroundings. And our second goal was that we want to inform everyone about the types of plants and our climate and everything about our environment here, our native plants and how they change during the seasons and our ecosystems. And we also wanted to provide a place for observing erosion and other natural systems or processes. And we wanted to solve other problems regarding erosions of our slope and the stormwater runoff, and also the human impact and safety concerns. And what I mean by human impact is people leaving garbage and littering. And an example of the safety concerns was we have cottonwood trees that had kept on growing, and once their roots were spreading through the pavement and they would regrow up. And also another problem was roots. So we went to Islandwood in that January, and we came back with a totally different new perspective of what we could do for our school and what we could teach our school for our upcoming classes. So we came back and we had changed our sketches of what we wanted to do with the forest, and we were thinking that maybe we should add more natural features to the school, like solar lighting in the West Forest in an outdoor classroom. Our project timeline. Year 1, we got our observations and our sketches. We also did designs of how we wanted our West Forest to look like. We also did interviews with Weyerhaeuser. So our interviews with Weyerhaeuser, we got in groups and we asked Weyerhaeuser questions on what they could do to help us as a school and how we can turn our West Forest into a much more educational environment. And we also met with the district maintenance to talk about our safety concerns. And we had group presentations. And we had our first work party in that spring of 2013. In year 2, we presented our project details to the Green Ribbon Schools Tour Washington, D.C. officials. That was when I was just beginning as a 6th grader, and it was something new for me, and it really made a difference on everything. And we also met with district maintenance crew to discuss about removing the cottonwood trees and pavement so that our disabled kids at our school would not have to deal with bumping over the pavement or falling, or people with walkers and wheelchairs. We had 2 work parties in December 2013 and March 2014. We also had students make final design changes to what we wanted our West Forest to look like. And we also got a $1,000 grant awarded. And this year, we have gotten Weyerhaeuser volunteers work day, and we got over 20 volunteers to help us with cleaning and building a kiosk. We also got architects to design approved by students and staff, and we got a $7,500 grant awarded from Weyerhaeuser this October. And we also got people to work on pavements. And what we mean by what is next is we want to get the classroom outside, which we obviously need approval for. And we want to get the boardwalk also done and our solar lightings. And this year we are planning to go to the Make a Difference Summit at Islandwood on Bainbridge Island so that we can come back and we wanted to go to the race summit. We wanted to go to the Make a Difference Summit so that we can go back to Islandwood and share our new ideas on what we have to offer. Here is the year one picture of what we did. We were going around observing the West Forest area, and we were also taking sketches and notes. Here's from year two. We had one of our work parties, and the back area is closed because of the storm water running off the slope. And we were also digging for the roots, and we were trying to get all the branches and debris away from the paths. And here's the second picture of the work party. Now in this picture you can see that everybody is trying to put in teamwork to get digging and trying to get out all the roots and trying to just help and pitch in however they can. And here's a picture of what the first 3 years of our project would look like. Here, in the first person standing to the left is my brother. The two people in the middle are John and I. And the person standing to my right would be Alyssa Bankston, who was a part of last year, and she is coming back this year to help. And we've just been with this project, and I know my brother has been helping me since year one, and we've been doing a lot and as much as we can to help. And here we are, this picture shows that teamwork was involved in every part of our work parties, and we believed in teamwork and everything else we could to help, and everybody pitched in as much as they could. And it was raining that day, and everybody was putting in all their hard work for the work parties. Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you
you can
very,
see
very
just
much.
the
Yes.
student voice loud and clear. So proud of both of them and the students who have been involved in this project from the very beginning. They want to see this all the way to the end and keep it going. I think it's going to be their legacy. I really do. I'm just extremely proud of them. Thank you.
I'd also would love to have an invitation and a time when it would be appropriate to come take a little tour. I've been to Camelot many of time and played soccer in the back and all of that, and I don't think I had any idea there was a forest, and would really love to be able to take part in kind of seeing what's there and then what next steps might be and how either we as a board might support that or as a community how we also might be able to support that. And I would say it's not only student voice but clearly student action, so wow, that's totally awesome. Thank you.
We would love to have you.
Yes, yes,
We would
yes.
love to have you. Thank you for that.
surprised with what you see.
I have a question for Parneet.
Parneet, yes.
Has this affected what you plan to do in your career?
Well, what would you mean by career?
What you're going to do when you go to work after school and after the university?
Yes, in these few years I've really gotten close to nature, and I'm thinking a lot about what I want to be when I grow up. And to be honest, I'm not so sure still, but this experience has really gotten me further than what I want to be, and I'm really proud of everything that has happened so far.
Great, great. Congratulations. And to both you and your brother and your teacher and your principal. That's a really exciting project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone? Any other comments?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Superintendent McLean, do you want to?
So in the past couple of consent agendas, you have made some appointments to our director level positions, which are outside of our normal hiring cycle, but I wanted to take the opportunity to make sure we had the opportunity to introduce them to you. So both Rick Cerns and Marie Verhaar will take over those reins.
Thank you, President Gregory and members of the board and Superintendent McLean. As you know, just before school started this year on September 1, we lost our Director of Employment Services who took a job elsewhere. And it was a bad time to post for a new position, but as we did that, we found we had a really good, strong group of candidates, and I'm really proud and happy to introduce our successful candidate this time. Janet Hodson came to us from Highline School District, and Janet was actually served the last 7 years there as Director of Human Resources. Prior to that, she served for 12 years in the Human Resources Department in Puyallup School District. So she comes with a wealth of experience and throughout the entire spectrum of HR activities, and just wanted to introduce her at this time. I think she has a few words for you.
Good evening. I just want to let you know that I'm really excited about my appointment into this position. I've been a resident of Federal Way for 26 years. My son went through the Federal Way schools, and so I'm really excited to kind of use my skills to continue to make Federal Way an excellent learning environment for the students in the Federal Way area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've heard good things from Highline.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent McLean. Tonight I am joined by Diana Thomas. Diana is a familiar face to us. She has been in the Federal Way School District for 15 years and has recently decided to join us, which we are grateful, as the Interim Director of Advanced Programs and Highly Capable. Diana has, as I said, been in the Federal Way School District for 15 years. She was formerly, just formerly as of November, the assistant principal at Federal Way High School. She was there for 3 years and a few months. Prior to her position at Federal Way High School as assistant principal, she was in the Teaching for Learning department, so she's kind of returned home, if you will. She was in the Teaching for Learning department as the coordinator of advanced certification. So she helped to lead the National Board program in its infancy. So we are very excited to have her back. From 1999 to 2004, Diana taught at Federal Way Public Academy and was actually one of the founding members, and on occasion served as a principal designee. As I said, Diana officially joined us as Interim Director of Advanced Programs and Highly Capable on December 1st, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have her.
I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the district leadership for entrusting me with this exciting opportunity to serve students in a new role. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Vince Blauser.
Well, good evening, President Gregory, members of the board, Superintendent McLean. I am proud to announce that for the third consecutive year, the Puget Sound ESD has named the Taft Academy a School of Distinction. What a name, what a title, for their outstanding and ongoing improvements in reading and math. And just to give you a little background, the School of Distinction Award is given by the Center of Educational Excellence in partnership with several organizations, to include the Association of Educational Services, the Association of Washington School Principals, WSASCD, and the fine organization of the Washington State School Directors Association. The Taft Academy is one of only 50 schools in this Puget Sound region and among 101 students in the state to receive this award. And the Taft Academy staff and students are well deserving of this award. And what I'd like is Principal Paul Teitler to come forward, and I think he's brought some folks with him perhaps to come up and say a few words and be congratulated. Thanks. Yeah, please. Clap for this guy. Oh. Yeah. Wonderful award. Absolutely. Please.
I think the thing that's exciting about us is we feel really good about Taft Academy. And we don't necessarily need an external person to tell us about the work that we do because our students show that to us on a regular basis. See, that was confirmation.
Technology.
Either that or somebody was telling me to watch out. But thank you so much for hosting us tonight. This is clearly a unique opportunity for us as a school to get the recognition, and it reflects upon the work that students do on a regular basis. And so we have a few people with us tonight, and I'm going to let Sherry talk here in a second. I'll introduce her, but I also like to have the Moody family. Chris is here with his dad. Come on up, you guys. And the McIntyre family, Emily and I'm going to totally forget it. Allison is here with her mom, and it takes two of them to watch after Sue, so we appreciate that. So if you guys could come up, and then also our counselor, Elaine McDonald, is here tonight as well. And come on up here, you guys. And these individuals are reflective of why Taft Academy is a school of distinction, and why Taft Academy is a place that, regardless of where you come from, you can find success. And I think one of the things that's really neat about the work that we're doing at Taft Academy is that we're a neighborhood school. We're a school that represents that neighborhood and the four elementary schools that serve that neighborhood. And it's just that to be able to be part of a community and be part of a neighborhood and serve students the way in which Taft Academy is able to do is very, very exciting to be principal. And to be quite frank with you, to be principal there and our team of staff members are there, we feel very honored to have the opportunity to be at a place like Taft Academy to do the sort of work that we're allowed to do between the partnership with the foundation and the school district. And it really resonates with why educators became teachers in the first place. And so to be able to have a place that allows us to connect with our interests and our passions and our knowledge and our expertise in our intellectual capacities is just it's an exciting place to be every day. And so this School Distinction Award is just a reflection of that passion that teachers bring to that school every single day. With us today is Sherry Williams, who's the Deputy Director of the Taft Foundation. I believe you've been there since day one, right? When did you start with the foundation, Sherry?
4 months old. It was 4 months
It was 4 months old, so that goes back to 1996, I believe. And with that work, Sherry's been doing a lot of work with Taft, and we're serving kids in a variety of ways, but certainly was at the ground level of Taft Academy being formulated. And so it's really neat to know that, to watch her passion and watch her smile on her face as she interacts with our students, because she knows our students. And this year is first sixth grade class that will be graduating. And so Sherry's known them since they were little babies.
Very excited.
And now they're just bigger babies.
Yes.
Right? And so Sherry, why don't you say a couple words?
So I just want to
Sherry,
say,
Sherry, before you speak, I get to speak.
okay, of course.
I have known Sherry since about the time she started at Taft, and I had the opportunity of working with her in Highline, where we put some programs in place. Not the excitement of Taft. We tried to get Taft, but we didn't have any space, so it was stolen away from us. But it came to a great place, and I just want.
You gotta watch this one.
Yeah, I just want you to know that Sherry served on my board for several years, and she is probably one of the most talented women I have worked with as far as her ability to walk through all kinds of situations with, for the most part, a very calm demeanor. I don't know what's inside, but very calm demeanor. And take on crisis. I remember the day that she called and said that the paychecks hadn't arrived, and she had to find them. And I thought, wow, that's quite an accomplishment. But anyway, I think the opportunity that Federal Way has had to work with the Taft Foundation has been amazing, and I hope it only continues to grow.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, just sort of standing here brings back a lot of memories of when we were here and we were waiting to see if the board was going to vote the Taft Academy sort of motto in, and if we were going to be able to do it. And here we are, and now we have that first group of sixth graders getting ready to graduate. Who would have known, you know, what was going to happen through the partnership with the district? And it's just been amazing to see the kids flourish, the incredible amount of talent in the teachers, because this is no easy job. I think sometimes teachers are not recognized in the way they need to be because you take care of people's babies every day and help them learn and grow as individuals. And I think that is so powerful. And I just admire the whole administration of the district for, you know, really coming in and taking a chance on Taft, because we weren't in the district at that time in Federal Way. We were in Highline, we were in Seattle, and people knew us there, but they didn't know us in Federal Way, and then we were adopted in. And it's just really exciting. I'm glad to still be a part of this. Who knew the magic was going to be so great? And I also see a bunch of folks I know in the audience, Treese and Laura, who were also very much a part of Taft Academy, getting to where it is today. I remember hitting the pavement in 80 degrees, passing out flyers for parents to come learn about this new school that was coming. So it was no easy task, but it was all well worth it. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. And I thank everyone from students who have to come in every day ready, teachers who, you know, are exhausted at the end of the day and get up and come back again and again and again and continue to do it again. And for parents, for being their support and cheering them on and being involved in their children's education as they continue to go off to college. And I know we just got news today that we got our second college acceptance. So that was pretty exciting too. So it's like all these, like, we've just got some magic flowing, and it's just really exciting to be a part of it. And believe it or not, even though I've been here 18 years, I don't know when that's gonna end, because it just keeps flowing and really making a difference in kids' lives. I don't think it gets better than that. And to see them, you know, now we have alum. We didn't have that before, right? And they're doing incredible things in their life, and they're doing college, and just amazing. And so, again, I thank you, and it's exciting to receive this award for the third time.
President Gregory was claiming to come down and get a picture with him. Go up front there, file up there, and go Mr. Lawler. Did you mean
you're part of this group. We do this from
One other person that I would like to commend for the fact that Taft Academy not only came to this district, but continued through the trials and tribulations of siting and everything else, and that's Sally McLean, who at the time was not the superintendent, but she really is the power that put this on the ground and for the school district. And so I want to also acknowledge her and thank her for that. Okay, now we are moving to board elections, and I'm supposed to read from this paper. I am now calling for nominations for president of the Federal Way School Board. Are there any nominations?
President Gregory, I nominate Director Jeffrey McAnally for President of Federal Way School Board.
Are there any further nominations? Oh, are you going to second it?
I second that nomination.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations for president? Seeing none, it's time to call the roll call with one candidate. We can also take a vote of acclamation if someone would like to make that motion, which I could do.
I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that we vote on a motion of acclamation for Jeffrey McAnally as president of the Federal Way School Board. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. I'm done.
First, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my peers and vote of confidence, and I look forward to our work that we do over this next year together. It's now time for us to call for nominations for Vice President.
Director McAnally, I nominate Claire Wilson for the position of Vice President.
I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Hearing none, we can do a roll call or again do it by acclamation.
I move that we vote by acclamation for Claire Wilson for Vice President.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second for acclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our new Vice President is Claire Wilson.
You want me to switch again? Moving right on down.
I now will call for nominations of legislative representative.
President McAnally, I nominate Claire Wilson as the legislative liaison.
I second that nomination.
So I have a motion and second for Claire Wilson for Leg Rep. Are there any other nominations for legislative representative? Are there any other nominations for legislative representative? Hearing none, I call for a motion of acclamation.
All in favor?
I so move.
I second that nomination.
So we have a motion for acclamation and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Wilson, you'll serve in both capacities for the next year, 2015. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just want to take this opportunity to explain what has just occurred. I know that there may be a little bit of a surprise that I have taken myself out of the role and been voted out of the role of president of the board, but I am in the process, hopefully, of being appointed to the legislature in the 30th district, and so I am switching roles, but because of the McClary decision, I'm very excited about the opportunity to work in Olympia on education funding and follow one of our esteemed leaders who will shortly be honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for public comment. Do we have any sheets, Chris?
No, we have none, but you also need to do a
reaffirm
motion
the
for the
policies.
policies.
Yes, you're right. Thank you very much. So we also need to make a motion for reaffirming our policies. So do I have a motion at this time?
President McAnally, I move that all policies and adopted regulations are in full force and effect as they are now constituted, but are subject to individual review and revision as need arises.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, so seeing no public comment, next comments will be superintendent comments. Superintendent McLean.
Thank you, President McAnally. I just want to congratulate you on a very smooth board reorganization in accordance with Governance Policy 20, if I'm remembering that number correctly, which requires the board to reorganize every year in December. So thank you for making it through that procedural process with grace and dignity, and I look forward to continuing to serve the board in its new configuration. I have, of course, as usual, comments prepared this evening. Some are operationally oriented, some are academically oriented, so I will just launch into that. Some of you are familiar with Sound Transit and know that Federal Way is targeted for light rail to extend into the Federal Way community, dependent upon voter authorization in the midterm horizon. I guess it depends on what you consider short-term, midterm, and long-term for the arrival of light rail, but it's on its way. And I just want to give our community a heads up that the school district is aware that both of the light rail paths have some potential impact on school district property. That's not a surprise to us. Those are conversations we've been having with Sound Transit over the last year or more, and as Sound Transit gets closer to doing an environmental impact statement, we'll be sure that the board is informed of what those options look like and move forward with making recommendations from the school district to Sound Transit for that light rail. So that seems far away from our daily focus on academics, but when we might be impacting daily academics by those choices, we need to be aware of what they are. We have our ENDS 1 work study presentation scheduled for the first Tuesday in January, which is January 6th, or what I keep telling people, virtually tomorrow. That ENDS 1 is often reported around our graduation rates. So our graduation rates for 2013-14 are final, and we are pleased to announce, and certainly Executive Director Vince Blauser will have much more detailed information at the work study, but we are slightly above our on-time graduation rate target, with an on-time rate of 76.2% for the class of 2013 and an extended grad rate of 80% for the class of 2012. So I look forward to having more conversation with the board at the work study on January 6th, and then of course we'll be following our new protocol for doing a short board presentation at the next board meeting with adoption following that. On the very next day, Wednesday, January 7th, is the annual Chamber of Commerce State of Education address. So I just want to, again, try to give people a heads up about that and put that on calendars because I know how busy we all are. And as we start talking about 2015, the new year will mark the beginning of some broader communications that are launched from many internal conversations we've been having over the last year or this fall. So for example, we'll have a variety of grading advisory committee recommendations to begin having public dialogue about. We will need to begin talking to the board, which will also happen at the work study on the 6th, related to the district's implementation of the new graduation requirements that the state has adopted for the class of 2019. And we are required to develop a district improvement plan now that we're back under NCLB. So those will be not that we don't always have district improvement plans in mind, but this is a very formal structure required by NCLB. So look forward to those broader conversations as we come back in 2015. I'd like to take a minute also to recognize the completion of one of the 14-15 projects, which is the teacher handbook compiled or guided by our Director of Family and Parent Engagement, Therese Moore. You might recall that the first handbook, Partnership 101, the Partnership 101 endeavor was a booklet that was created for parents, and as quoted in a Title I publication, it created a positive dilemma because teachers were glad parents were asking more questions, but then teachers realized they needed a guide too. So Therese, in conjunction with, I know, Jason Brown and many others who she could speak about in more depth, created the companion booklet for Partnership 101. And we're pleased to have that released and be ready to distribute that to staff. National boards, you might have noticed a little alert from the school district or perhaps on our webpage banner that we have a recent round of national board candidates who were successful in their candidacy that we'll be bringing forward to the board again in 2015 for recognition. But a couple of things that I would like to point out, that we have now over 200 of our teachers that hold national board certification, which I believe places us 18th in the nation in terms of the numbers of teachers with national board certifications. So look forward to some additional celebrations for that work. I am pleased to see that Senator Eide and Judge Mark Eide are here in the audience. I am wondering, I have one more closing remark, but I'm wondering if we perhaps do want to amend the agenda to allow us to do the recognition before we do the various staff reports. Just something for you to think about. But in closing, in this season of giving, even though we work for, we're school districts, and I think we all have hearts that have grown at least 3 times their normal size. As I've had the opportunity to be in various meetings, I've heard some very touching stories where our staff are interacting with students and families in need and connecting them with both community services and with direct supports from their personal pockets. And so for each of you who have found ways to help our students and our families within our school communities, I just want to thank you for being the difference in a life every single day in more than just the academic way. So thank you, and enjoy the whirlwind of activities that descends upon all of us during this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda at this time.
I move that we amend the agenda to move item 17 up to item 12 and then renumber the rest.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
So a motion and second to move item 17 from 17 to 12 and then renumber everything accordingly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so let's move into the recognition of the Honorable Senator Tracy Eide. Superintendent McLean.
Thank you. So, Senator Eide, will you come join me?
Oh, there I am.
There you are. You have a media gallery of photos that I could copy and paste.
Oh, boy.
So
I don't look happy there, do I?
Well, you had some pretty serious work to do over the last 18 years. No. So we're here this evening to officially honor Senator Tracy Eide, who has served the 30th District for 18 years, 16 years in the Senate, 2 years in the House. And last May, Deputy Superintendent Davidson had the opportunity to nominate Senator Eide for the Washington Association of School Administrators Community Leadership Award, and so Senator will recognize that I have cribbed heavily from his presentation in May. But here she is with students. So During Senator Idy's career in the legislature, as I mentioned, beginning as a state representative in 1992, Senator Idy was a vocal and consistent supporter of education. This evening, we wish to recognize 3 specific laws sponsored by Senator Idy with direct and positive education results, not just for the students here in Federal Way, but for students across the state. So the first one, and this is a really long run-on sentence, okay? So let me break it down with the commas. So the Federal Way School District filed a lawsuit against the state of Washington, and we called it the Fair School Funding Lawsuit. And in the King County Superior Court, Judge Hebe declared that the LEAP schedule, which drives the preponderance of basic ed funding into school districts, was unconstitutional. And at the same time we were driving that lawsuit, Senator Idy stepped up to the plate and sponsored legislation that resulted in the only change that we have seen so far in the LEAP salary allocations to reduce the basic education funding differences between districts. And these differences have been in place since 1977. And in the early 2000s, when we were doing this work, the dollar amount that was created by those funding differences was almost $10 million for our district. So it's not an insignificant basic ed funding difference that exists in our state, and I admire your willingness to lead that charge, even though your constituents were litigating at the time. Thank you for joining us in a way that yielded a positive result. I think the second piece of legislation that we can't forget is Senator Idy's support for online learning through the sponsorship of Senate Bill 5828. There was also a companion bill. Well, it wasn't really a companion bill in the House. There was a separate bill in the House at that point in time. So many of you might recall hearing Ron Mayberry or others talk about the Internet Academy and how the Internet Academy is the oldest online learning academy in the state of Washington and was launched in 1998. Oh, well, like many things, sometimes our job moves in front of enacting legislation. And so we had some serious disputes with the state auditor's office about the way Federal Way had been operating our online learning academy and claiming state funding for that. So once again, Senator Idy stepped up to our side and helped through 2 legislative sessions design an online learning bill that helped us save the Internet Academy and also open the door for online learning for students across the state. So in 2013-14, IA, as we call it, the Internet Academy here in this district served 1,112 students. That included 498 who were directly enrolled through Federal Way Public Schools, 246 through the state's Digital Learning Department, which got created when we created the Department of Online Learning, and 368 students who continued to be served by their resident districts but are directly contracted for online services through us. And that's just 1 year in that online environment.
I'm impressed. I didn't realize there was that many.
Yes,
Wow.
it's a big deal. And most importantly, and if I can make this go dun, 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 for us. In 2007, Senator Idy celebrated the culmination of years of effort to amend Section 2 of Article 7 of the state constitution so that school levy elections would be decided by a simple majority. That is the true model of perseverance. I'm not sure how many no votes you had to get before you finally got a yes vote. And this was just a yes vote to put it in front of the voters, just to get it out of the House and the Senate and the governor's mansion to be able to put a constitutional amendment in front of our voters, which our voters said yes to. Yay. And since 2008, when the voter-approved constitutional change took effect, 1/3 of all school levies in the state have passed on the first time, were passed by a simple majority. Our students benefited directly too. Since then, since 2008, we had the 2010 technology levy, the last 2 EP&O levies, and the Federal Way High School construction levies that all passed with a simple majority, which meant slight below 60%, because our old threshold required a 60% yes vote on levies. I am confident that our community would have passed these when we put them out a second time, but there are significant direct and indirect costs to school districts for running elections multiple times. And just as a reminder, many of you have heard me say this, but every time we run something on a King County ballot during one of the 4 designated times, any election period except the November general election, it costs us between $200,000 and $250,000 in direct election costs. So those 4 elections alone saved us or allowed us to spend $1 million supporting students directly, not to mention all the dollars those particular levies drove in to help us provide technology for students, the EP&O levy, which represents 20% of what we do every day, and the Federal Way High School construction levy. Groundbreaking Friday, January 9th. That's a busy week. So in conclusion, I just really want to say thank you, Senator Eide. I know that your legislative career spanned many more areas than just education. I don't have a key to give you tonight, but what I have for you are 18 white roses.
Thank
in
you.
the language of flowers, white roses represent friendship. It's in a blue glass vase because our colors are blue and white. And I just, well, I know those won't be around forever. I wanted you to be able to enjoy them through the holiday season.
Thank you, Superintendent.
And I think there may be some other folks who have a few comments they would like to make, but I will yield the floor now.
Okay. You know, Senator Eide, you make the point of always saying that you're not a show horse, you're a workhorse. And I think this record greatly explains that, along with the cell phone bill that keeps us supposedly from using our cell phones in the car.
That is the story I need to tell.
Which is probably the most positive piece of legislation, other than education, that's been passed in this state for a while. Not that we all follow it, but we try. But your sincere efforts to work across party lines, to really stand up for the citizens of this district, and to not put up with unnecessary goofiness in the process. I mean, you tell it like it is, and that's been, you know, a hallmark of your work, and I think it's to be honored. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to thank you also, and I think I'm going to thank you myself, but also on behalf of all the early learning parents in the 2-county area and across the state who have marched on Olympia and Advocacy Day wearing red and knocking on your door to tell you how important early learning is. And I think the important thing is they know that you know how important whole children are, and also how important whole communities are. And every bit of work that you've done has been on behalf of both of those things. And so there are many, many, many folks who I think would also line up to say thank you. And I just, I will do it on their behalf, and really hope you have some time to rest, relax, and really enjoy. And then also hopefully inform and guide, you know, as we go along, and if things don't make sense, or if there's things that you think might make better sense. I always appreciate the voice of experience and the voice that says this is kind of how we've thought about things before. So you're a valued member of our community, so thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you, Claire.
Yes.
Senator Eide, we're going to miss your regional leadership, clearly. I'm glad Superintendent McLean was able to go over the impact you've had on children's lives, because it's been in the thousands. And so I'm so happy that you were able to see that here and understand that you had an impact on thousands of lives, and that's really quite impressive, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
You know, Senator Eide, I just want to say thank you. Everybody's already said it. I mean, I think it's tens of thousands of children's lives that you've impacted in the 30th alone, right? And not everything else you've done statewide. And we, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all that you've done, your leadership that you've given us for the last 18 years, and also guiding us, right? And as Claire said, if there's things that don't make sense out of this school district that you see, we would definitely always be honored to have your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may say a few things, okay? Thank you, Superintendent. Mark, we go way back. You guys are the reason why I went to the legislature to begin with. Remember the Sherwood Forest triangle, if you remember the boundary review board, and that's what brought me before the school board here, the Federal Way School Board. And I was always the person that found a solution to the problem. And it turned out that night that I had a solution for the boundaries of one school to another school and knocked on doors. That was probably the first time I ever doorbelled, by the way, in the district. But I needed to find 100 students here for 100 students here so we could swap, and it worked out. So I was fortunate enough that the school board at that time, I was the only one that they accepted the proposal to. I also was the first PTA president of Sherwood Forest Elementary and a recipient of 2 golden acorns, by the way, which I wear very proudly. The money goes towards a scholarship for students. And that's the one thing that I have never forgotten is who I represent. And my heart and soul going to the legislature was education. The simple majority was what drove me to go to the legislature because I felt that we were not being represented for the children of our state. So I just felt that I was an advocate for every child in our state to succeed. So let me tell you what, it took 2/3 vote in the House of Representatives and 2/3 vote in the Senate to get the simple majority passed to go to the voters of Washington State. So it took over a decade for me to get this passed. And I just want to do a shout out to Senator Clements. I don't know if you remember him or not, but he's from Eastern Washington, Yakima area. And he came over to me the day that I really wanted to bring the simple majority to the floor of the Senate. And he shook my hand and he said, Senator Eide, I will be your 33rd vote if you need it. And I said, yes, I was short just 1 vote, and I had always been short just 1 vote. And he came over and shook my hand and said, I'll do that 33rd vote. We ran that thing that day. I tell you, as soon as I got that handshake, I wanted to run it on the floor. And at that time, I was the majority floor leader. Well, Senator Clements was not reelected, and it was because of that vote that he took. And so that's one of the reasons why I want to mention his name. What a terrific man he was to help us pass that great piece of legislation on the Senate floor. And I was sorry to see him go because he did the right thing. But I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Claire, you're going to have your work cut out for you for legislative director. Love to see your face down in Olympia. You know, the more you get down to Olympia to see the representatives, and you got a good friend with Carol, so this is good. But you make sure you knock on the senator's door and the other representative's door too, because that's what gets the job done, is seeing people from your district out there fighting for the good cause, and that's education. And the McCleary, that's going to be a big deal this year, and it has to be solved. And don't let them move money around. You make sure that they give you money in hand. Okay? Thank you very much for this honor. Thank you. You've been around a long time. I tried really hard to bring money to the district. You did a great job.
I always appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I think we were going to maybe take a short break?
Yes, we'll take a 15-minute recess.
Okay.
Thank you. Directors, if we can come back, please. Yeah, she is. Okay, we're coming back from recess. And our next item is school board comments. Vice President Wilson, would you like to start us?
Well, how about we start in that end, and then I can just finish with the, because the ledge comments
that'll
are
work.
right up that would.
Sure, you bet. So Director.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll go back to commenting on the WASDA conference and the sessions that I attended there. It was back in Spokane, late November. There was one session that I attended that had to do with communications with the public, engaging the public, and the need to have reinforcing messages that compound on each other, cascading out to the public, staying on point. It was a very, very good talk by the superintendent primarily of Tacoma schools, and the need to be really relevant to the public so that the message resonates. Attended a session on mentoring, and really what it was about is the need for, relationships across the community. The idea that it takes a whole village to kind of progress the students' learning and helping families get through. It was a small community, much smaller than ours, but kind of like the idea of similar problems have similar solutions. There's no denying that when the whole community gets engaged, the outcomes are much better for the students. Went to a session about bullying, and aside from the fact that there can be some really terrible outcomes, and those are in the extreme, I think the big message there was that people need to listen to the students. The students know what the issues are, where in the schools are unsafe, and there's a tendency to be dismissive, and we really need to be open to what the students are telling us and what they don't particularly like in terms of the atmosphere that we create through rules and what we call things. And really to understand as adults that when there's misconduct, it's really a cry for help. So the idea that misconduct should lead to expulsions just creates a cycle that ends up with students dropping out, and that's a bad thing. So it's probably something that we probably should work on a little bit in terms of our policies and what we do there. There was a discussion on public disclosures, and the interesting thing was you can email somebody the simple 3-word letter, yup, and be in violation and be personally fined if your yup had to do with confirming that a meeting supporting a particular candidate was on for a particular date. So if you use any facilities, i.e. the iPads that you're given or laptops, and confirm or assist in any way, you can be subject to personal fines. So the extremes were very good to learn in that session. There was a session on family engagement, and I clearly got the understanding now that those that are severely disadvantaged in the community need family support. And really, the parent liaisons and family engagement that we have going on in Federal Way schools is really about a main line of the community of parents who really don't understand how they can engage and better the outcomes for their students. Understanding what curriculums are available, what they need to know in terms of homework policies, grading policies, etc. So that was an eye-opener because I really thought that we were really into social services and connecting people up to a Rolodex, and that's not the case. And I got further confirmation last Thursday attending the Roadmap project meeting with the Puget Sound folks. It was a very good session. Then there was a session on community engagement, which was really about the fact that students who are disadvantaged have a very small view of the world, whether going to school, coming home to their living room, watching television, eating, going and coming back to school, as compared to somebody that might have travel opportunities and books to read. And so the idea that reading is really fundamental to expanding people's vocabulary and experiences is important. Just like the session that we were told about today about kids getting out into the wilderness is a good thing to broaden their experience base, broaden their vocabulary. Field trips and speakers and sponsors from the community, all those things can be compensators relative to increasing the experience base of our students, and that was considered to be really important. And I think from the roadmap project, folks, what I got in terms of a compounding message is you really need to start early. It's really important to hit those kids early so that their reading is accelerated by the time they get to middle school and high school. And the fact that you see performance drops from elementary to middle to high could really be raised if you start earlier with kids so that they're literate. So I found the sessions there they're really informative, and just wanted to share that with the other members of the board. Thanks.
Director Gregory?
Well, I wanted to turn on my mic. I wanted to explain a little bit more what may be my future life for another year, but what I wanted to talk about a little bit was the process that we're in, and I am not leaving the board at this time. I have not been appointed to the legislature. I have been recommended by my local district, and I've been recommended by the King County Council, but we live in two counties. So we still have the Pierce County Council to make a decision on the 3 candidates that are up for this appointment. And if that does not occur in a timely manner, or if that does not agree with King County, then it goes to the governor. But I felt, and I expressed this to the King County Council yesterday, that we have a critical issue before us here in this district, and that is the appointment of the superintendent. And I did not feel that it was appropriate to leave the board, no matter what else I was doing, until we got through that decision. So if I am appointed to the legislature, I will resign from the board after we have hired the new superintendent and going through that process, which is probably going to be the end of March. But I've gotten a lot of questions, so I just wanted to explain that to me that is one of the most, if not the most important thing a school board does. And I wanted to see that through. I, like Hiroshi, went to several of the sessions, some of which he attended as well. I also went to one on McCleary, and it reinforced for me the incredible task that has been given to the legislature for this next session and subsequent sessions. This is not a small change that can be made. This is a major funding issue that's way above and beyond what I even realized. The state is clearly out of compliance with the Constitution, and so that is frankly one of my main reasons for making this change. It was pretty startling to be quite frank. I've read the decision, but I just didn't realize all the implications, and they're huge for school districts. The opportunities for local school districts in the state are very great if the legislature does what the courts are requiring. So I'm excited to either be on the school board or in the legislature to address those questions next year. Thank you.
So you can just go, I'll go ahead and go, Vice President Wilson. So The biggest thing I want to share this evening, and we're running short on time, so I'm not going to talk too much, is just to make sure that everyone is aware of the stakeholder meetings that happen tomorrow at the Educational Service Center. And those are from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The open forums are at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. There will be translators available. If you cannot make the 9 a.m. or 6 p.m. open forums, you are welcome to any of the others, 8, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3:30, and 4:30. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to attend, and I encourage you, please, everyone, students, staff, parents, community members are welcome to share what they would like to see in the next superintendent. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I attended WASDA as well. I think it'll be another time that we'll share that, but I'll go ahead and hand it over to Vice President Wilson this time.
Thank you. I was at WASDA as well, and clearly focused on everything McCleary and legislation, because that's really right now, I think everything just sits in that that bucket. And so I think as Director Gregory said, that we can't do things the way we've always done things before, and unless we all come to the table willing to put some things in the middle and change our ways, it's going to be a long, long session and a long few years. So, but I have faith. And I also will say that I spent, right after WASDA, I was able to go to San Diego to the National Conference for Educational Service Agencies or Service Districts, where there are school boards and folks from all over the U.S. that get together. And I will just say one of the keynotes was Russ Quaglia, who has done a lot of work on student voice, and was so proud to be thinking back at our decision to make sure that we had allowed student voice and student representation on in our search plan for superintendent. And as we've all, I think, said in the last week or so, we cannot negate the power of the students that we're serving in our district, and we saw that again tonight with the student presentation. So student voice is just extremely, extremely important, I think, in every decision and at every level. The other was the opportunity to hear Jeanette Walls, and if you're not familiar, she is the author of a book called The Glass Castle. And really, when you're talking about whole child and you're talking about circumstance that individuals are born into and resilience and how one makes it through the world and comes out on the other end with something to share, it's a book that's well worth reading. So really had some opportunity to reflect on the work we're doing and really the importance of the work on our opportunity gap populations specifically, and how we're meeting the needs of both kids and families from a whole child perspective. Thinking from legislatively, I went to a couple events this last week. On the 2nd of December, I was at the Lev South King County preview of the legislative session, where Frank Ordway from Lev, who's the government relations director, came and spoke with community partners from many, many different sectors: school, elected officials, city government, county government, from not only Kent, but from Auburn, from Federal Way, from just our South King County area, speaking again on McCleary, but also asking from a community perspective the impacts they were going to feel or were feeling around the full funding issues with McCleary, and also concerns that brought to them, things as transportation, infrastructure of cities, and all those things that come into play when we're talking about money. So very, very worthwhile morning meeting, and I will be attending more of those. I also was able to attend yesterday the Equity in Education Coalition's 2nd Annual Community Leaders Forum, and it's a group in the South King County that's really looking at representing the needs of our communities of color and those kids and families that continue to fall into the gap. And as leaders in this region, how they could influence legislators and the legislation related to, again, McCleary and all things social service and education related. So there was a large group that spent the day together and really diving into two questions, and one is what concerns those individuals in the room had around school funding. And the second one was changes that individuals and organizations that were represented would like to see, not only at a local school district level, but perhaps at a regional and a state level. And so was able to really think from a very broad perspective and get some good information that may help us as we move forward. And I will make sure that I share with Director Gregory to my right, because clearly the voice of constituents when we think about a budget that cannot be education first and only education, we will have nothing left. So we've got to think about what that means for us. So that would be my legislative report.
Thank you very much. I'm kind of excited based on where the board is. As a ledge rep for WASDA going forward for the next 2 years, you serving as a ledge rep and the potential of Director Gregory being in the legislature is we're definitely keyed in. Our next item is our policy review, policy governance update, and in Director Peterson's absence, Director Gregory, could you give us an update, please?
In your packet is a packet of the governance GPs and other parts that we have already gone through and made revisions. So these are the updated ones. As you remember, at the last meeting, we proposed some possible changes primarily to get feedback before we move forward with any decisions on recommendations, and we are expecting those in the new year from the superintendent.
Great, thank you for your update. All right, Superintendent McLean, we'll move forward with our EL8 budget execution.
And we have Jerry Carlson here to present a brief overview of our compliance or thou shalt nots, fail to comply with the various parameters outlined in Executive Limitation 8 related to what is called the budget execution or the accounting for the activities from the 2013-14 school year. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Good evening, President McAnally, members of the board, Superintendent McLean. As Sally just mentioned, I'm here to talk about EL8, Executive Limitation 8, Budget Execution. So exactly what is EL8? I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. I did provide you guys with the annual monitoring report. What I'd like to do tonight really is just to go through the compliance measures, talk very briefly about each one of those. And in context of what's in the report as well as what I'll be talking about tonight, it is in relationship to the fiscal year that we just closed up, which was our fiscal year 13-14. Just officially got that closed up, and I'll remind you that our fiscal year runs September through August. However, it does take us a couple months to actually close up the year. So EL8 just quickly states that with respect to execution of the budget and the actual ongoing condition of the district's financial health, the superintendent shall not cause or allow a material deviation from the annual budget or budget policy adopted by the board, shall not cause or allow any fiscal condition that is inconsistent with achieving the board's ends or places the long-term financial health of the district in jeopardy. So the first compliance measure states that, as Sally mentioned, lots of shall nots. Superintendent shall not expend more funds than are anticipated to be received in the fiscal year unless authorized by the board. So if you remember, when we adopt the budget, we actually set an appropriation level or what we consider a maximum amount of expenditures for each of the 5 funds. Legally, we cannot go over that expenditure appropriation. And if for some reason there is a need to go over our expenditure appropriations, districts are required to go through a whole budget extension process, very similar to the actual budget adoption process that we have. It's a long process, it's a lot of work, but that's what we do. With regards to our 5 funds, we actually did not exceed any of our originally adopted appropriations in any of the 5 funds. Additionally, with respect to our fund balance, we typically will budget for a drawdown of our fund balance in all of our funds. In other words, our expenditures are budgeted greater than our budgeted revenues. And actually last year, we actually had a favorable outcome or favorable variance in each one of our 5 funds. In other words, we didn't draw down fund balance as much as we had originally budgeted. And in fact, in 4 of the funds, we actually ended with a net add to our fund balance. In other words, we didn't even draw down the fund balance. The second compliance measure says the superintendent may not fail to maintain and protect the minimum maintenance of year-end general fund balance as budgeted. So we have an administrative policy that requires the general fund to have a committed fund balance in between 3 and 5% of our annual operating expenditures. For last year, our ending committed fund balance was approximately $6.6 million, which equaled the 3% of our operating expenditures, meeting the intent of that policy. Additionally, we have an unassigned fund balance, and for last year that was $7.5 million, or roughly 3.37% of our operating expenditures as well. So those two combined is about 6.37% between that committed fund balance as well as our unassigned fund balance. And that's slightly higher than it was in the prior year, which was about 5.11%. Number 3, the superintendent may not fail to settle payroll and debts in a timely manner. Our payroll is processed on a monthly basis for over 3,000 employees. Typically, there's about 90% of those employees get their paychecks through direct deposit, so that sort of helps to ensure that timeliness factor. With regard to our vendors that are paid through accounts payable, we pay those on a weekly basis, again, trying to ensure timely payment for those. And I just want to kind of put a plug in that our staff work really hard to ensure that payments are timely and also accurate. We just recently sent a file to our state auditor's office for the 13-14 year as they're getting ready to start preparing for that audit. And with all of our funds, we sent, the file had like over 1 million records that was sent. So a lot of volume. Compliance number 4, the superintendent may not allow reports or filings required by a state or federal agency to be overdue or inaccurately filed. There's a myriad of reports that we file. We file the F-195, which is our annual budget. We file an F-196 in the state required format, which is our annual financial statements. There are enrollment reports that we file monthly, staffing reports, and all of those we can try and do very timely and accurately. Number 5, the superintendent may not fail to arrange for an annual audit of our district funds and accounts. Fiscal year 2012-13 was our last actual completed audit. As I just mentioned, we're gearing up for the 13-14 audit. I anticipate, although I haven't heard yet, I've reached out to them and they haven't responded. Anyway, I would expect that we'll start the audit in January of 2015. Typically, depending on the number of auditors that are here, they can be on site for 3 to 4 months. So it's a involved process.
Just out of curiosity, who does the audit?
The state auditor's office. Yeah, they have a team. Our team is out of the South King County, and generally we have the same team that comes. Once in a while it gets changed up. And board members are certainly invited to the entrance conference when that audit starts, as well as the exit conference after they've concluded the audit. Number 6, the superintendent may not fail to aggressively pursue receivables after a reasonable grace period. Again, staff regularly monitor and they work hard to secure timely payments of our receivables. Some of our receivables are generated from our facility use agreements, as well as just agreements that we have with other entities. In August of 2014, our outstanding receivables totaled about $363,000, of which I think we still have one account that remains uncollected to the tune of $1,400 roughly. We are able to present to the board for authorization to accounts that we deem as uncollectible. I believe the last time we did that was in June of 2013. We presented about a $4,000 account that we just weren't able to collect on, represented about 0.39% of all of our invoiced revenue. So not a lot of money there. Number 7, the superintendent may not fail to keep complete and accurate financial records by funds and accounts in accordance with established fiscal accounting procedures as reflected in generally accepted accounting principles. So as I mentioned, the most recent audit that was completed was for our fiscal year 2012. Those reports are available on the state auditor's website. They're available by hard copy if requested as well. I'm proud to stand up here and tell you that that was the 11th clean audit that we've had, so that's always a nice thing. The audits typically cover just our internal controls. They also examine our financial statements, as well as just compliance with the various local, state, and federal regulations. And then lastly, the superintendent may not fail to publish a financial condition statement annually as part of the district's annual report to the public. And each year we do publish the it's the state required format, the F-196, which is our annual financial statements. We also, in the winter progress report, will generally do an update on the prior year end as well for the community. So before I conclude, I just want to take a minute. This is our staff, and I actually want to just thank them all, because certainly without their passion, their dedication, their hard work, I would not be standing here telling you that we are in compliance of our EL8. They do a great job, and I actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to just read their names. In our payroll department, we have Pam, Lynette, Kristen, Laveda, and one person that is yet to be determined. Our accounts payable team is Michelle, Nikki, Kelsey, and Denise. Our purchasing, contracts, and risk management team is Diane, Lynn, and Dana. Our accounting team is Barb, Anita, and Heather. Our budgeting and grants team is Gloria. We have a lot of singleton teams here. Our enrollment reporting and demographic team is Tanya. Our systems and data support team is David. Our administrative assistant team is Carol. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our former fearless leader, Sally, who is still our fearless leader, but certainly in a much bigger capacity. So again, I just want to give kudos to all of them. So any questions or
Any questions from the
information?
board?
Just one quick question, without getting into the details. On that incident of non-collection, did the review indicate that there was a weakness in our processes that could be fixed, or not?
Sometimes what happens, for instance, with facility use, we bill based on organization comes in, uses our facility, we will send them an invoice. Many times they are nowhere to be found. So that's probably, I don't recall the one that we just recently had written off, but in many cases it's for lack of just being able to find the people.
Thank you, and congratulations on the 11th straight clean bill of health.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jerry, for you and your team and everything that you do.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to the next clean audit.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Senator McLean, you want to lead us into the Federal Way School District app information?
Yes, I'm pleased to introduce to you Communications Director Deb Stenberg, who will provide us a little more detailed information about the app. As you'll hear as she goes through her presentation and actually shows us the app, we've done a soft launch. Many of you are using the app, but it's been on our list of things to provide a bit more detail to you about, and tonight seemed like an appropriate time. Thank you, Deb.
Well, there we go. Hi, good evening, President McAnally, members of the board, Superintendent McLean. I'm here to tell you about the Federal Way Public Schools app, which, as Sally said, went through a soft launch beginning about a month ago. We believe that the app is an important addition to our communications toolkit. In addition to the website, to our print newsletters and flyers, our Blackboard Connect email and phone calls, our social media, we needed a tool to reach parents on their mobile devices. And now this Parent Link app, which combines elements of both the mobile-friendly website and BBC direct notifications, is going to be able to, will help us do this. So why an app? People are increasingly going online for news and information. I think we all know that. We see the news out there all the time. This Pew Research graph from a couple of years ago shows the decline of most of the traditional news media, but an increase in online mobile news. And we know that's only continuing. To access the internet, they're increasingly turning to mobile devices. 58% of American adults have a smartphone, 42% own a tablet. 6 in 10 of those cell phone users are going online with their mobile phones. And of those cell internet users, 1 in 3 does most of his or her online browsing on the phone. In many homes, the only internet access is through a cell phone. And the trajectory, as illustrated in that last bullet point, is going upward. So we know that our smartphone users are a diverse group. Among the most among the groups with the highest level of cell phone internet use are young adults. 85% of cell phone users 18 to 29 are going online on their cell phones. And the numbers drop off somewhat as you get older, but even among 50 and up, over half of those folks are going online on their cell phones. We also know that it goes across ethnicities as well. 3/4 of African Americans are accessing the internet through their cell phone, and 68% of Hispanic cell phone owners. It's also a suburban and urban thing. And for all of those reasons, providing an app, in my opinion, was an equity issue as well as a convenience for our parents. So where are we now? We did a soft rollout. The website, social media, flyers at student-led conferences, and President McAnally's shout out, thank you. Currently we have over 1,500 downloads, about 2 to 1 Apple to Android. I'm told that's typical. We have a little over 1,000 followers. In other words, folks who downloaded the app who then selected a school to follow. And of course, the high schools have the largest numbers. Todd Beamer is leading the list right now. I expect many more followers and downloads with the next phase of the rollout. We're going to do Blackboard Connect call and email targeted by languages this week. We will have a substantial article in the progress report to the community. And most importantly, we're going to work closely with the schools to promote the app to students, staff, and parents. And we think students are also an important audience to get on board with the app. Just some early insights. If you take a look at where our users are going, they're accessing the directory, and we'll go through these in just a moment. We'll do a little demonstration. They're going to the directory where they can look up staff email by school. They're taking a look at the notifications we're sending out, and that's that direct messaging piece of this app that we liked so much. They're looking at the stories, calendar, stream, meal payments, meal menus, jobs, sports, and school flyers. Those are the top 10 so far, and we'll see how that goes after we move on to the next phase. So,
Deb, could I just ask a question
Sure.
on that?
Yeah.
So, for example, the meal. If one is used to doing an online purchase, say on the website for nutrition services, is there something on the nutrition services site that says you can now do this through our app? Or how does one know that where I traditionally would have gone for this, I now can go?
and in fact, on their website, the meal payment is an app. Or no, I take that back. It's a website. They are working on their own app. But no, you're right. We do not have that on the Nutrition Services webpage, and that would be a great addition. So,
Because I'm an online gal, but I would not have known to look at the mobile app.
Yes.
To be able to do that, I would still
Yes,
have assumed
some
I would have had to
cross-promotion.
go on there. So just a thought.
It's a
Thanks.
great idea. Ron Mayberry is going to come up. We're going to quickly segue and connect his cell phone. He's going to drive the phone, and I'll talk.
Don't want to be behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Just right when my wife decides to text me too. So.
That was one of my concerns about demonstrating.
So.
The phone call that won't go away. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was the directory. And in that directory, when you first download the app, you can select the schools you want to follow. You can also change that at any time by going to the settings and selecting and deselecting schools you want to follow, whether you want to follow their website posts, their Facebook posts, and so on. So let's pick a school. Once you're in there, you can go down and select a staff person and click through, and from that, immediately email that person right from your phone. Let's go back to one more. Okay, and then, select the school, yeah.
Yep.
If you click on the address, it will map the school for you. So it has a GPS capability. It's also nice for new folks moving into the community that want to see what's my neighborhood school. They can go into this app and select, put in their address, and it'll map it for them. So let's go back to notifications. So today we sent out a notification to staff and parents. No, there we go, stakeholder meetings. Reminder to come and join us for stakeholder meetings. This went to staff specifically. The nice thing about this is that unlike a typical text message, we have a lot more characters. And we can add an attachment. So if you click through on the attachment, typically it displays pretty quickly and easily. Okay. And then let's go to another one of our top pieces is the calendar. So go on over to the next. Another top choices. So in the calendar, once you've selected your schools, it's going to pull information from both schools you've selected. Go ahead. Have you selected any schools? Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, go to change in the upper right-hand corner, and you can select a school. So it will pull dates and events into one single calendar once you've selected your schools. And that made it, oh, there we go. Now that's displaying better. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you'll notice too at the top here we have student view, parent view, and teacher view icons. This will take you directly into the app of your choice to look at grades online. First time you go in, you'll need to download that app if you have not yet, but it'll take you into it. We have, let's take a look at menus. Menus have been updated to display better in this app, and now you can take a look at today's breakfast at, should say K5, I believe. No? Okay. You can.
612.
And if you need, go ahead and go back. If you need to pay for lunches, you can click through to Nutrition Services page right there. Once they have the app ready for Lunch Money Now, we'll go directly to the Lunch Money Now app.
So this is just displaying the website.
At this point,
Yeah.
yep.
But it's making it easier for parents to find it and get to it.
So we know we have a lot of sports followers out in the community. I believe you're going to find that on the next screen. Sports upper left-hand corner.
Okay.
And
I haven't selected a school on that either.
okay, so again, when you select a school, then you they have a special arrangement with I can't remember the name of the company. Go ahead and Max Prep Sports. So once you click through on that, you'll see up-to-date scores on games and schedules. That's all right there. School flyers. There are a number of other specialty icons. We've got them up there. We can add them. One of the things we liked about this particular company is that we can change icons. We can add icons. You'll see a specialty icon for Federal Way High School Build. I believe that's back that way. Federal Way High School Construction.
Bottom right.
That will take you to the build page for updates on construction on Federal Way High School. We have the superintendent search icon there right now. But when those processes are over, we can pull them off. We can add for the levy. We can add for a bond measure. It's a great flexible tool. So I hope everyone will download it, give it a try. They need to go to the Google Store or the Apple Store and search for Federal Way Public Schools.
One quick question.
Sure.
When you have this bar chart here where it shows that 306 came into the directory, is the directory the gatekeeper so that you can say that 306 came in and 299 of those folks then went to the notifications, or can they go direct access to any of these modules?
They can go directly, so you'll see notifications is in
Okay.
the bottom middle, directory is on the right. I don't believe there's a way to link from directory to notifications. The notifications feature is actually something we initiate out to parents, students, or staff, or staff at any school. We can select program, school, site, and send a direct message.
So the app's tracking people who've gone through that doorway.
Mhm.
There's a whole lot of people going to the meal site, possibly as a way, Director Wilson mentioned. Yep.
I also was wondering if, I noticed all the schools, but is there a directory for ESC staff? I see Superintendent McLean, but I don't see any way to contact anybody at the ESC.
Okay. If you click on Federal Way Public Schools.
Sally's
You're
not
right.
listed.
Okay, so we'll need to add, what if you click on staff?
I didn't see staff, that might be my answer.
No, we need to add staff there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments?
questions?
Yeah. I've been using it for a month, and I can tell you that it being a one-stop shop, there are a lot of things that have made my life much easier with each one of the schools, and I appreciate the work you've done, so thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thanks, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else to come before the board at this time? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.